My 3 times great-grandfather, on my mom's father's side, is Michael John McEvoy, and this is his story. Michael John McEvoy was born on the 3rd of February 1847, in Newry, County Down, Ireland, to his parents Peter McEvoy and Roseanne McGowan. At the age of 7, in 1854, the family was living in England, when Michael's brother Peter McEvoy was born in Liverpool. In the 1861 England census, Michael is listed as 14 years old, living in Liverpool, Lancashire, with his family. His father, Peter McEvoy, is 45 years old and works as a dock laborer. His mother, Roseanne McEvoy, is 35 years old. His brother Peter is 7 years old. And his sister Roseanne McEvoy is just 15 days old. On the 4th of January 1862, at only 14 years of age, Michael volunteered to join the Royal Navy, serving aboard the Falcon. His service number was 20833A. At the time of enlistment, Michael was described as 4 feet 9 inches tall, with a pale complexion, brown hair, and gray eyes. The naval paperwork Michael signed stated that the consent of his parents or friends had been obtained in writing, and that they were willing and desirous that the boy should be entered for 10 years of continuous and general service from the age of 18, in addition to the period required until he reached that age.
This meant that Michael agreed to serve 4 years until his 18th birthday, followed by 10 years of service, a total of 14 years in the Royal Navy. Michael's mother signed the paperwork on behalf of his parents. On the 20th of April 1866, Michael's name appeared in the South Australian Police Gazette, on page 25, under the heading Deserted Seaman. He was reported as deserted from HMS Falcon at Port Adelaide. He was described as 5 feet 1 inch high, with light brown hair and hazel eyes. Just a few months later, on the 3rd of August 1866, his name appeared again in the South Australian Police Gazette, this time on page 3. Again, he was listed as a deserted seaman from HMS Falcon, at Port Adelaide. His description was similar: 5 feet 1 inch tall, light brown hair, but this time his eyes were recorded as dark. A reward of £3 was offered for each deserted seaman, and a warrant was issued at Port Adelaide for his apprehension. On the 27th of April 1867, a daughter named Martha Stanley was born at Black Hill, South Australia, to John Henry Brown and Sarah Stanley Brown. Notably, the father's name was not listed on the birth certificate. On the 23rd of September 1869, according to the South Australian Marriages Register, Charles Henry Brown, aged 22 and single, married Sarah Stanley, also aged 22 and single, at the Wesleyan Mission House in Auburn, South Australia. The groom listed his father as Charles Henry Brown, and the bride's father as William Stanley. It is important to note that Charles did not record his father's real name. On the 17th of December 1869, their first son, George Brown, was born at Rhynie, South Australia. The father's name was listed as Charles Henry Brown. George Brown is my 2 times great-grandfather. More children followed. On the 21st of September 1871, William Henry Brown was born at Auburn. On the 13th of October 1873, Alice Maud Brown was born at Auburn. On the 25th of January 1876, Charles Stanley Brown was born in North Adelaide. On the 9th of November 1877, Ernest Alfred Brown was born in Adelaide. On the 16th of September 1879, the family was living at Portland Estate, Port Adelaide, South Australia. On the 23rd of December 1883, at the age of 36, he passed away at Adelaide Hospital. The cause of death was listed as peritonitis, a serious inflammation of the peritoneum, usually caused by infection from a ruptured organelle wound, and often life-threatening at the time. On the death record, his name appears as John Henry Brown, born in Liverpool, with his occupation listed as clerk. However, his obituary names him as Charles Henry Brown, the name he was known by in Australia. He was buried on the 24th of December 1883, at West Terrace Cemetery, Adelaide. His burial location is Plot Road 5, Path 10, Aspect West, Site number 70. From Michael John McEvoy, born in Ireland, to a Royal Navy seaman, to a deserted sailor in Australia, and finally a husband and father living under another name. Michael John McEvoy deliberately changed his identity. By becoming John Henry Brown, and later Charles Henry Brown, he made a conscious decision to blend in. The surname Brown was common, unremarkable, and easily lost among records, the perfect name for a man who needed to disappear. Yet traces of his past remained. But behind them all was the same man, Michael John McEvoy.